So for task 6, our boss would like us to modify data for customer XYZ10. We're basically changing all of the data. So this is going to be update on customers. And then we're basically going to be setting values for every single column. So we have to say set. And the only thing we can't change is the customer ID, okay? Because that's the primary key. And in this little scenario, we're not going to change the company either, but we're going to be filling in the contact title, and all of that. And if you remember, XYZ is the one where we just did the customer ID and the company name, and we didn't fill in anything else. So we're going to say contact name equals, and this is a string, so it has to be in single quotes, Jill, comma, contact title equals, single quotes, owner, comma, we've got address equals, single quotes, 123 Main Street. With the comma, we got city equals, single quotes, Traverse City. And then we've got region equals, single quote, Michigan. And then we've got postal code equals, single quote. And we've got country equals, single quote, USA. And finally, we get down to phone. I think I'm going to press enter and wrap it. Phone equals, single quote. All right, so at this point, that was the last change we're going to make, but the next statement is super important, the where clause, because we don't want to change everything that's in our table. We only want to change customer ID equal to XYZ 10. So probably the most important line in this whole query is the where clause. If you omit that, it is going to literally change everyone. And we don't want that because that would take a lot of work to change them back. So we're going to go ahead and run this. Okay, and then if you want to see that it worked, I'm just going to copy this little select. And we'll move our closing quote down. And let's run it. Oops. Doesn't like highlighted stuff when you run. So you can see that it did fill all of that information in. So our boss is not quite done. Our boss has decided that they would like us to remove the facts column from the customer table. They don't really feel like it's a very useful column. And so that is our next little task. And instead of a facts column, they would now like us to add an email column. So I'm going to move this down. So we have to do an alter table. And customers is our table. We're going to drop column. You'll notice that in SQL, when you want to delete something, you use the word drop. Okay, so it's drop column, and facts is the one we're getting rid of. And then we're going to do another alter table on customers. And now we are going to add a column. So we're going to say add email, and then we have to tell it the data type, so it's variable character, and we'll just make it 30. And then we're going to put null so that it doesn't have to be filled in. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and run our changes to the table. And then if we want to make sure they got in here, we just refresh. Okay, and now we have email down there instead of fax. So just one quick question. We have been using update. We did that up here. And is that a DDL or DML command? So DDL is data definition language, and DML is data manipulation language. Okay, and update, when you're changing data, that is a DML command. Okay, those kind of things you need to know for your certification test. So alter table, drop column, add column. Are they DDL or DML? Okay, well, we're not changing data. Okay, DML is data manipulation. So we're not changing the data, we're actually changing the structure of the table. So it is a DDL command. One final question. Why is the new email column allowing nulls? If you already have rows in your table, you have to make it so it allows nulls, because you've already got rows there, and if you said not null, you'd have a problem adding the column. Now there are some additional updates that we have to do. Now that we've added our email column, we actually have to populate it with some data. So I'm going to pause this while I enter the codes, and then I'll quick review the codes with you. All right, so I'm going to move my closing comment down. And I've entered the update commands. So we're updating our customer table. We're setting the email address. Most important statement is our where clause, because it's saying which row we want to change. If we don't put that in there, everything changes. So it's a problem. So that customer ID is critical. And now that I've got all of this entered, I'm going to go ahead and execute this. Whoops, I've got that highlighted. Okay, and I'm getting a little message here. I've got a string that's too long, so it's going to be truncated, and that's fine. If I double click, it actually takes me to this one. So this was a little long for the length that I made the column. Okay, so that's fine. We'll just leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and move this down. Now, in real life, you would probably fix that email address or increase the width of your column. So we've got one more update that they want us to make. And on this one, we're supposed to delete customers basically that live in Wyoming. For some reason, we don't like Wyoming customers anymore. So we are going to use, now we're deleting data. Okay, so we don't use the drop command. Drop command is used for if you are getting rid of a database, getting rid of a table, getting rid of a column, but we're just changing data. So we're going to use the delete command. So we're deleting customers. Most important clause is the where clause, because it says which ones you want to get rid of. So where region equals Wyoming. So if you omit the where clause, it will delete all of the rows in your table. So if that happens, if you did a backup before you did the deletion, you can simply restore from the backup. That's why the backups are important. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And it did delete only one row. And I'm going to move that closing comment down. And we're finally done doing updates.